If your OpenClaw agent is spending a lot of money and you're not quite sure why, then this video might be for you. There's some solutions to drive down the cost, and it's something that's not quite obvious at first glance. It has to do with input caching and how the different model providers, particularly Anthropic, OpenAI, and Gemini handle it. So every time you make a call to your agent, whether it's in a conversation or in a heartbeat or in a cron job, there are a lot of bootstrap files that are sent with every conversation. So there's the system prompt, which is specified by OpenClaw. There's your bootstrap files, which are your agent soul, your agents file, the tools, the memory, the identity, the heartbeat, and then your tool definition. So any tools that you have enabled for your agent are included. This huge bulk of the conversation is a fixed set of files that doesn't change for all the calls that you're making. The only thing that you have that's interactive is perhaps you're having a conversation with your agent, you ask it, how are you? But all of this content is being sent, so you're getting billed for the entire thing. And because AI APIs are stateless, you have to send the entire conversation over again every call that you make to the API. So the system prompt, the bootstrap file, the tool definitions, they all go back over, along with any additional dynamic context for the conversation that you're having is sent over again. And you're billed for this huge bulk of content each time, each turn. So even in your cron jobs, there's multi-turns. Your heartbeat will run, or your cron job will run, and there's multiple back and forth with the API provider, and these files are being sent every single time. And without caching enabled, these files are sent and read, are sent to the provider, and they are recalculated, recomputed, which incurs a cost on the provider side, and they're more than willing to bill you for it. So looking at pricing, Anthropic's probably the worst one with this. So when you're inputting your base tokens, let's say we're looking at Sonnet 4.6, which is a pretty strong model for using OpenClaw, you're paying $3 in, but you're paying for a 5-minute cache write, $3.75. For a 1-hour cache write, which you have to enable in an OpenClaw setting, you're paying actually even more. You're paying $6 per million tokens. And the reason why this doesn't come up a lot is because when in typical API or typical AI API usage, it's real-time, ad hoc, turn-based. So you have a chatbot running on your site, the person has a question, context is sent, and the conversation happens with 5 minutes, and that allows the API provider to use this 5-minute cache write. Or even when you're talking to your OpenClaw agent and you're just going back and forth asking how it's doing today, you're able to leverage cache writes after that first how are you query goes over. Those subsequent calls, as long as you're continuing to speak to your agent, will be cached, and you'll pay a much, much lower rate. It's 30 cents versus $3, so it's 10% of actually writing the cache in the first place. And that works great for a 5-minute conversation. And again, Anthropic can go up to an hour, but even better is something for OpenAI, different models, and you really need to tune your OpenClaw system to work with the OpenAI models. It doesn't seem that it was inherently built to use the OpenAI models, given its name originally in Claude, but the OpenAI models, especially GPT 5.2, when you enable high effort using a model parameter, is comparable. You do need to adjust your agent instructions and some things like within your SOUL file to make it work. I'm still going through that. I kind of had to take a step back from moving off of the Anthropic models over to OpenAI, and I'm doing it just for this reason. The inputs are only $1.70, and no, I'm not comparing GPT 5.2 to an Opus model. Opus is far and away much better, but pricing for Opus is $5 in and $25 out. So willing to take a little bit of a performance hit there, and the OpenAI models are very strong. So going back to my example, let's look at what happens when it's cached. So first time you're having a conversation, and this is not a real-time conversation, so your cron jobs and your heartbeats run on their own. So the first time it runs, it sends over the system prompt, the bootstrap files we discussed, and the tool definitions in the conversation history. And then every subsequent call after that is able to leverage the cache. And that's so your cron job runs or your heartbeat runs, and tasks are ran, and the calls within that heartbeat are cached. But what happens if you have your heartbeat running 10, 20, 30 minutes later, an hour later, if you're on an Anthropic model and you don't have the 1-hour cache parameter enabled, which is also much more expensive, then you're going to pay that write penalty again, where OpenAI has a parameter flag that you can set to specify a 24-hour cache, and you actually don't pay any more for it, which is crazy. I think Anthropic is going to have to move to a system now that we're working with more asynchronous agent-based interactions where they're going to need to offer a 24-hour cache. Hopefully they won't bill us more for it. But anyway, the subsequent calls on heartbeats and cron jobs with the 24-hour cache using OpenAI, you won't have to pay for this for all of these bootstrap sections of the call each time. So you're getting, given the size of this, if you look at my usage, I have 900 million tokens in and only 8 million tokens out. That's a whole different story altogether. But if you look at your usage costs, I bet you there's a lot more tokens in than tokens out. And the tokens in really consist of largely your bootstrap files, your system prompt, your SOUL, your agent, your tools, your heartbeat, memory, identity. So, and they're not changing. So there's no reason for you to be paying a penalty to have those sent over each time. You really want to leverage a cache. And comparing the model providers, unfortunately, the most powerful model, Anthropic, they penalize you for writing to the cache. They charge you 25% more for pushing cache input over. So the first time that content is sent over, you're paying that penalty no matter what. OpenAI just seems to be the best for this, provided that you, in your model providers in your configuration, you could set a prompt cache retention for 24 hours, and you need to adjust your model or your JSON file, your OpenClaw JSON file, to include this parameter. I also have the 5.2 models have a effort level, and you can set it to high effort or extra high effort. And for calling tools and for having an agent work autonomously to get something accomplished, I would set that to high effort or extra high effort. And that has made a big difference in tool usage and it being able to actually output production work. So I'm going to have a video about tuning OpenAI models specific for OpenClaw because it is a little bit different. Google Gemini automatically enables caching, but I think they have a 1 hour default value. So that does work for a lot of things. If you do have a shorter heartbeat window, such as a 30-minute heartbeat, then the Gemini models will work fine. Yes. So, and obviously, anytime you update your agent directive, your SOUL or anything like that, then your cache will get invalidated. But the next time it runs, it'll get cached. So, yeah, that's it. I'm still working through it. I think it's a good solution for people who are burning a ton of tokens on input, like I am. I have something like 100 to 1 token input to output ratio. So, something worth looking into. And yeah, go from there.